Okay, most important story you'll ever hear, so pay attention and listen. It explains a lot about the whole living existence of the world. When I was 5, I was given a vision, and that vision was of people on metal slides being harmed by evil. And I vowed to God I would destroy it. And then I forgot. God sent me on my path. Now, it's important because if I had remembered, the path might have been a lot harder to actually do. Forgetting kept me safe, in a sense. Now, let's skip forward. So, as I got older, many girls tried to go out with me, but I refused. I wanted to be married, to have a family. Always wanted a family. But, nobody was right, you see. And the truths I had about God, I knew them in my heart. They were written on my heart. So the things that religions told me and stuff, I couldn't believe. And God didn't allow me to get baptized because baptism is evil, but I didn't remember that at the time. I just knew that I couldn't. God wouldn't allow it. Now, so anyway, fast forward. When I'm 18, I met someone who felt like home, and I'd never had a home. I had a rough childhood, wasn't good at all. And I never really understood why my family treated me the way they did, but I also had memories of when I was a child being sent to private hospital for things to be done to me, them attacking my nervous system and such, which, we were so poor, we couldn't have afforded to go to a private hospital. We had to catch the bus to go shopping. So make that make sense. And anyway, so when I'm 18, I recently, not long before that, I'd had a job since I was 16 and left school, full-time, 80 hours a week. But then, I didn't go for 14 days or so because I was sick. And anyway, I could have took it to small claims court, but I just left, applied everywhere, got a new job. Eventually, this new job, a couple of months after I started, they wanted me to do a stock take. Didn't want to be there, always want to help those. So I'm like, whatever, I'll be there. And it's like I was drawn to this person when they first come in. And when they felt like peace and home. But I tried to believe that things didn't exist before this life and like that. And anyway, when I looked in their eyes, I seen destruction. I couldn't understand, but I trusted God. God never let me down, you see? And I said, surely, the devil couldn't give me a vision. So this must be from God. I tried to forget because that love I felt just from being in their presence, it felt like peace, and I'd never felt peace before, okay? Now, keep in mind, this was 2008. Now, what happened in 2008? 2008 is when they allegedly turned on CERN, okay? Now, anyway, for all intensive purposes, this person at first appeared to be like me, to have similar values. I didn't seek out to talk to them, but they would always talk to me, because I never chased anything in life. I just let things be and tried to show true love to all people and just be kind. I'd never ask anybody out or anything. And I was just grateful to know that they existed, right? And happy to see them smile. Anyway, so they would always talk to me and ask me questions. And they asked me, I wanted a family and how many children and this and that and the other. But I didn't ask them questions about themselves so much because I found that rude. Like, if somebody wants to know, they can tell you, Otherwise, did they really want you to know? But I myself didn't really, I would let people ask me questions, I guess. Not that I didn't want people to know, but it's just, why bother, If they cared, they would find out, I guess. Anyway, whatever, that's just how I am. But, so, they'd talk to me for a couple of months, and, if I took my lunch, they would take their lunch at the same time to talk to me. And one day they invited me to their birthday, and I'm like, well, I don't celebrate birthdays. But it was on this day that I found out that they were like 2 years or so younger than me, maybe 2.5, I don't know, 2 and a couple of months. And I'm like, well, can't go to your birthday. And I started crying, but I tried to hide it and walked inside. And I stopped trying to talk to them because how could I love somebody that was younger than me? And it's absolutely destroyed me because they felt like peace and home. So even just being able to see them smile made like the worst thing imaginable seem happy. You know, that one thought, just their smile, made things seem okay. Anyway, but yeah, so when I looked in their eyes, I seen destruction. Didn't know why. That was the first time we met. And I kept trying to avoid them after that because they were younger than me. And they kept, you know, trying to talk to me. But I didn't know what to say because what am I supposed to say to you that, like, well, you know, you're younger than me. Everybody that worked there knew that we both showed pure love towards each other. Like, you could see it in our eyes, right? Just like a glow, I guess, of pure light. And everybody would come and talk to me and be like, you know, you should go out with them. I'm like, well, I can't. I love them, but I never told them I loved them, but I told everybody else and that I can't because they're younger than me. Anyway, I don't know what they said to them or if they told them, but as time went on, this person kept, you know, trying to get me to go out with them. I'm like, well, you can't, you know, I'm older than you. And eventually, one day they walked into work and they looked completely shattered. And based on the things God always let me know, I said, well, it can only be one of two things. Either somebody lied something about me, or they did something that they knew would hurt me, that they didn't want me to know about. And before that, I guess, too, you know, they emulated my light, which I was carefree, happy to everybody, showed everybody true love, and I wasn't interested in, you know, desires of the flesh so much, right? And but after I kept saying no, that they were younger than me, then they appeared to try and desire to the flesh more, which actually made me want to stay further away from them because I wasn't like that. And so again, 2008, when they turned on this CERN thing, they say, and it was at that point that all of history changed, right? Because at that very point, my life changed. I never used to question anything before that. I used to let everything be. I had full faith and trust in everything, and I never really questioned anything. It would be, you know? But that made me question everything, because how could I love somebody that was 2 years younger than me? How could I know? How could I feel like that I had met them before when I'd only just met them? Where did they come from? Did we know each other before? Did past lives exist? And this hurt me very deeply. And after a long enough time, God saw how much it hurt me and destroyed me. So eventually, because I didn't move, this was a few years later, I didn't realise that, you know, they were now older, but in my head, I'm still like, well, they're younger than me, so can't be, right? Could only be with somebody my age or older than me. And so God made my dad sick and he was dying and he wanted to go back to where he grew up. So I took him across the other side of the country and I cared for him until he died. But why is that so important? Fast forward a long time after that, I was just minding my own business. And this is like 15, 16 years later. Then I heard their soul pray to me, right? And it asked for help. I said, God, you know, I don't even technically know where they are. And do they even want help? Is this just something that I wanted because I love them? And God was like, no, they do need help. And, you know, after that person destroyed me from being the person I was, I'm not saying that it's their fault, right? I'm just saying that because I couldn't be with them, I changed, right? So I was still the same loving person, but I now questioned everything, which also makes it harder to show people true love. But because I felt like I couldn't help this person, then I tried extra hard to help everybody else, no matter how much it could hurt me, right? And so, yep, heard their prayer and didn't know what to do, and God's just like, let me know, yeah, all the signs were there. Go this way and try and help this person. Now, I didn't ask what it was about, but God just basically let me know that something bad was about to happen to them. And, that I should be there and try and help them. And so I showed up. Maybe did I show up early? Don't know. Didn't even know that they would be there. But I could feel the energy when I got there. And I'm like, well, what do I do? Am I supposed to just let it be, or am I supposed to tell this person that, God said something was going to happen and ask me to be there? So, me being the type of person I am, I'm like, well, no, I'll say, like, I don't know if I'll see you, but God said I would see you at some point, and that you needed help, that you would be in trouble. Now, I wasn't told what, just to be there. I guess to offer them a way to turn to God, because when I originally met them, they were like from a Catholic background and wore a cross, and when I met them, I told them, you can't do that. There is no cross, and that's going against God. That's trying to murder Jesus, it doesn't exist. Anyway, so later on, did I show up too early? Did I just not stay? When God actually did ask me to stay, but I was like, man, this doesn't seem good. I can't, this person can't cope with reality, and they don't appear to want the help they prayed for. Let me go. And God tried to urge me to stay and made it hard for me to leave. And I tried to get somebody to give me a lift, and somebody did, but then when they were coming, they got delayed. So God was giving me extra time to stay to help, I guess. And I'm like, no, I can't do this, gotta go. Because if I see somebody not in full truth, then I'm like bearing witness to God about their actions. So I feel like if this person wasn't changing, then, it might be bad for them that God may judge them, right? And really, sometimes you should just be there. Otherwise, something might go bad, right? Like if you leave a fruit in a cupboard and forget about it, it might just go rotten in there and you might forget about it. I realised this out later, but anyway. And I knew that if I left, God would probably make me go back. But I tried not to go back because I'm like, well, if I go back, will he let me leave again? And eventually I did, but I never messaged the person the second time. And I was just feeling the energy that was in the atmosphere. And again, I didn't even know if this person was there. But God said they need help, right? This wasn't the first time in my life God sent me to help somebody. If somebody had prayed to him, I would show up and give them the advice they needed. But I guess this person was different or more important to existence. And yeah. Again, I walked away, right? And then maybe a third time when I went to go there, this person showed up, but God had told me that this person had lied on me and lied about things to do with me. And so they came. I was trying to just mind my own business at the skate park. I never messaged them. I was just going to ride at the skate park because I like to do that and it distresses me. I'm quite good at action sports. And anyway, for some reason, every other time I'd go to the skate park, I'd go straight there. But God told me to go left, so I went left and I stopped and I stayed there for a bit. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go right now. And God was no longer telling me to stop. So when I went over there, there's people there, didn't know who they were. And I could hear them talking about me, the woman. And I'm like, well, maybe this is this person, but who knows? Anyway, then they coming over. They were saying bad things about me, basically. And then they come over to try and talk to me to make it that they were interested in talking to me or whatever. And I could have asked them questions, but I didn't because they weren't being in truth. And if somebody comes to me, I expect them to be in full truth. I'm not going to ask you if you're telling the truth. You either tell the truth or I don't want to talk to you. And they said, do I know them? I'm like, well, I don't know you, because I only know a person. I never said this part, but, you know, I can only know a person for what they can be, not who they are. So if you're not meeting the standards of who you should be, then I don't know you. Right? So my standards up here, this is what I see you as, and if you're not there, then I don't know you, because I know what you can be, not what you are. Yeah? And anyway, I kept trying to leave. They kept trying to talk to me. I gave them small advice, I guess, because they were like unwell. They looked almost like they were dying. It was really weird. I've never seen somebody so sick before. And after that I left. Eventually then I guess because I had loved this person so much, even though I'd left, I was extending my protection of God to them, because God placed special protection around me. And it got to the point that I had to call that protection back to me. I was like, well, no, there can't be any link, right? Because it hurts me too much. And time went on, and then some other things happened, and this person appeared to appear in places and tell very evil pedo scumbags where I was, because this person had a link to me, because we weren't like other people. Okay, so this person and I were different in the world from everybody else, and no matter how much I kept trying to block it, they could still somehow access me, and not necessarily access my thoughts or such, to a degree, because they'll just show up, like potentially from hacking my phone, I guess, in some which way, or somebody else hacked my phone and told them where I was. And but God would always let me see if somebody was there, or I could feel the energy, because energy doesn't lie. And this made me think, well, what is up with this person? How come, like, do they want to hurt me, or, you know, whatever? And I kept remembering that vision I had of the destruction. And this evil kept trying to hurt me, kept trying to murder me, kept trying to go against me. That's including the government, police, council, whole cities, army. They kept trying to kill me, but I kept living. Now, the way that some people looked at me some days when I walked into town, they looked at me as if they had actually seen me die, but here I was alive, because the fear on their faces, like, they were scared. And the minute they saw me, they were like, you know, is there anything I can get you immediately? And like, the whole atmosphere and energy of the situation was completely different. Like, everybody was just watching and in fear that I was even alive and walked into town. But, you know, that had happened a couple of times in places. And sometimes when I had a phone, I noticed that the, or watch or whatever, I noticed that the date had repeated itself. So the day might have been a different day, but the date repeated itself. And, like, I was still where I was at the end of the day, but, you know, a date replayed over again. Or sometimes, some days might have appeared to be erased from existence. Like, maybe when I'd wake up, it was 3 days later, and what happened to those 3 days? Where did they go? You know, because now it was a completely different day. But I wasn't taking any drugs, I wasn't drinking alcohol. I was just living, right? And I had no explanation for it, and a lot of the time I had no phone, either because corrupt people stole it, or, you know, tried to force me to not have any money to have one, or I kept walking, right? Now, I had given all truth and prophecy of the Bible and the scriptures on the internet, and the whole world had come to know that I was the voice of God. And in fact, even, you know, the children in Australia that saw what they did to me, they started to believe in Jesus. And one of them actually apologized to me in passing, and it's like, I'm sorry for what happened to you. And that's the only person who's ever apologized to me that knew what was done to me. But yeah, see, because they broadcasted it and everybody saw what happened, and obviously they can see in the town closest down, and when the police go around and tell people, don't talk to this person, don't go outside, on the busiest day of the week, there's not a single person outside. Weird, huh? Anyway, with that, the army tried to hit me with energy weapons that should not exist. and they probably didn't tell the people in the town that, but that radiation would stay there. Anyway, they weren't so much as to tell people, you know, don't give this person food. They told shops not to throw food out, so I couldn't get food out of the bin. They even so much as went to telling people not to throw away 10-cent cans, or getting people to collect cans so that I couldn't get any money to buy myself or my dog food. And although I didn't take drugs, I had such a high energy because of who I am with God, that they had learned that people they had given like crack to could emulate that energy and try and illegally connect to me. Yeah, so they would try and send drug addicts after me. Yeah, but you know, they sent a lot of people after me, the worst people in the world. They lost billions of dollars, and every prophecy I gave, the world saw be true. But so what happened when these kids in Australia realized that, hey, shit, this guy is probably Jesus? They actually started to love each other as one, and they started to share scriptures with each other and tried to be a family to each other and distance themselves from the world. They started doing more things, like natural things, like going fishing, being out in nature, instead of doing bad things, right? And they wanted to give up any bad things that they thought were bad in the eyes of God. And because of this, because they had said Jesus is king and were gaining so much traction around the world, what did Australia do? Australia banned them from being on social media. Funny, huh? So they tried to prevent the popularity of Jesus. Yeah, but by that time I'd already woken the world up and given people their souls back and resurrected them to the truth. But a lot of people didn't want to be in truth because they didn't want to be accountable for the things they had done. Now, because there is no cross, Leviticus 17:13 shows that it is in fact witchcraft, and all religions were evil and created by Babylon. Now, if Daniel 2:3-5 tells you who Babylon is, and that they worship the false god Molech, and that's the one who passed children through the fire for sacrifice, and anybody who's a child of God, they did the same thing with trauma, right? Because you're still a child of God. Now, this is where it gets important, right? Because obviously their cars and shit attract, so they had the reason to be where they were when they did what they did, and they legally arrested me multiple times, trumped up charges on me. In fact, they tried to send me to prison, and you know, they tried to set me up for murder and everything, but never could. And so they paid somebody, or you know, threatened somebody to attack me. And this person that they paid, I wonder if it was actually the same person that ran over my dog months before that, right? Either way, doesn't matter. This person filed false charges when they attempted to murder me and tried to beat me up, but I didn't beat them up. You know, all the angels were holding me back. Don't respond. And I kept begging the angels, like, take him off me, because otherwise I might respond. And like, what can I do? I kept trying to walk away, and this person kept attacking me. And it was then that the angels had separated us, right? And somebody came behind and yelled at them to stop attacking, told them to go, because the person behind knew who I was with God. Now, maybe the Holy Spirit interjected and this person wasn't 100% sure who I was with God, but the person behind sure knew who I was, and they knew the consequences that would come for it. Anyway, this person filed false charges against me, claiming my dog bit them and I assaulted them. But if my dog attacked them when they were beating the shit out of me, my dog would have defended me. But my dog didn't do anything. My dog stayed by my side, see? So how is my dog allegedly vicious? Well, it's not. And whole cities had seen people trying to attack me, and my dog never harmed anybody. So how can they say these things? They kept deliberately trying to induce violence from me and get my dog to react or to chase them, bark at them. And everybody saw, right? And now through this time, this is where it gets more complicated. Basically, the evil that they had done, and people weren't wanting to change and turn to God, because people weren't turning to God and standing under the authority of God and declaring who I was under God, that I was the way, the truth, and the life. basically had to go through dimensions, if you will, to try and stabilize everything, to try and extend time as long as I could, because of what people did against me. The world would just implode afterwards. So I kept having to basically go through dimensions to try and level out the field. Although I kept warning people, leave Babylon, turn to God, because if you don't, then you get charged with the crimes of the evil that you submit to, right? And, people instead wanted to be me, or thought they could be me, and they said, "No, man, I've suffered. My paradise is here. I deserve this." But how can you claim that's a paradise when it's not paradise? You're still living in the system of Babylon. They tried to use the numbers of God, which is witchcraft. They tried to pretend to be of God, but they were not. They only cared about themselves. And when I declared to the heavens to lock the devil up in ethereal prison, people saw, a few people acknowledged it even publicly, that Jesus won, but they didn't publicly share it. They would just say that Jesus won. And at that time, that was a 1,000-year test. For a year to man is 1,000 years to God. And during that time, I didn't give prophecy, I didn't interact, and there was no devil because he was locked in ethereal prison. Right? The spirit of the devil was locked away in an energetic prison. Now, what did the people do? They kept trying to kill me, kept trying to steal from me, kept trying to hurt me, and say that they deserved and they were in paradise, again using the number of God, the very name of God, claiming they were part of God, but they weren't, and I warned them. And Matthew 7:21-23 says, "You stole your reward. You get nothing further. I do not know you. Get away from me." I warned. Nobody listened. And then I said to myself during this time, shit, is it so that these people are actually more evil than even the devil was himself? Because the devil knew that God was authority, and they may have tried to deceive people, but they didn't do much of the evil things that actually people had done against me. They might have convinced other people to, through lies or whatever, but they didn't do it themselves. Whereas these people were given the full truth of God, and they chose to go against that. And truth is the way to life. So anyway, the time's up, the year's over, and the devil gets released from that ethereal prison to do a final sweep of people. Since then, I called to the heavens, and the heavens locked away the devil. During that time though, I also called for the devil's council, if you will, to also be locked in ethereal prison, which they call themselves the Council of Five. And if you look that up, I didn't actually hear about that until they approached me energetically. And it was at that point that I declared it, that they got locked in ethereal prison, right? But if you look that up, originally apparently it was like Council of 11, and then it went down to 5. Very evil people, one of which was the Antichrist. And yeah, I warned the people long before they alleged that the Antichrist died. Whether they died or disappeared, either way, it doesn't matter. Their 7 years were up. That was Charlie Kirk. If you look at the timeline, they were only famous for 7 years. And they completely went against God. Christianity goes against God. It spells Antichrist ye. They say there is a cross, but there is no cross. Leviticus 17:13. All blood is life and belongs to God and must be returned to God, showing that's ritual sacrifice. Witchcraft. Evil's trying to stop me from talking. Because where I am, the whole place has done so much evil against me. It's basically all full of demons at this point. But either way, the story has to get out there. And there's so much more to it, I guess, in depth, but I'm trying to give you the basics, right? And the evil keeps trying to cancel the video on my phone too, to block it from being one continuous thing, to make it harder for me to upload. But yeah, the world's still where I was. They couldn't disprove any truth I gave. Everything they did to try and disprove the truth I gave of the scripture only proved it more. And I warned people worse things would happen from the government and these evil religions and stuff if they did not turn to God and bow to Jesus as King. And the world had at this time established that I was He. Now, this wasn't me trying to be Him. This was just, I gave all knowledge of things. I showed the very example of Jesus, and I even gave people knowledge of the heavens, right? And, yeah. Now too, oddly enough, I mean, because they had the CIA try and set me up and try and supply me with things to try and bust me with, which never went so well for them. I called them what they were to their face. But I wouldn't have done these things anyway because that's not the type of person I am. I didn't give a shit about money. And in fact, after I had locked the devil in ethereal prison the first time, I declared that what's owed must be paid. The very next day, somebody come from out of state and said, how much would they acknowledge me as Jesus, but said, how much would it take for you to have a normal wife? And I laughed at them and said, a normal wife? I don't recall Jesus having anything in the scripture, although everything belonged to him. I said, well, what about a house? And I said again, show me the scripture where it says that Jesus lived in a house. Did he not travel? To preach and to be an example. Anyway, I also gave them some information about how to hurt me, like I had done previously, so I could track the evil that was trying to target me. Because before that, they had no way to hurt me. I was the one that gave them the information to hurt me, and they had to be able to hurt me, and I had to suffer so the world could see. Basically, I let the evil show the world that they were evil and what they were doing. I let the world show the world who I was with God. And I made sure that I went through multiple towns and cities over the time so people all over could see, right? So it wasn't just an isolated event. And after I had left somewhere, they would see a huge storm or something happen. There was even earthquakes, man. A couple of years ago, I actually almost did declare the full end. And it was a bright sunny day. I had walked across the town, across the city to go get some rain clothes. Now, why would I be going to get rain clothes when it was a bright sunny day and there was no rain before that? There was no forecast of rain because I was about to declare the end. So I would expect there would be some kind of storm, right? And everybody was watching me. They're trying to disprove me with scripture on the internet. I was replying and beating them in scripture on the internet. And I kept speaking the Lord's Prayer. And the moment I walked inside the door, well, I should say I kept praying the Lord's Prayer, I guess, because I wasn't speaking it aloud, but I wasn't really praying so much either. I was just speaking. The moment I stepped inside that shop, the heavens poured rain. And I mean poured rain. And then as I was walking around the shop and I kept praying the Lord's Prayer, strike of thunder occurred and the rain got even worse and everybody grew quite fearful. As at that point I said, because I technically wasn't supposed to know what happened after that, because if I did I might try and stop it. And so I felt pity and remorse for the people. I'm like, well, maybe they can change. History shows they haven't changed, but maybe they will after this. And so I said, no, okay, well, let's give them another chance, God. Let's forgive them, yeah. And then the rain stopped, and I walked outside. I'd only been in this shop for maybe 10 minutes or something, and when I walked outside, the city was flooded. It goes to show how much rain fell in that time that I was inside. They closed my bank accounts, hacked the one that they couldn't steal, and kept stealing my phone so I couldn't access it because they stole my ID and bank card and I had no way to get it back. And, this was for a couple of years. In between that time, I did manage to get it, and which I had to go towards the evil to get it back. But once I got it back, I left that evil. And so for basically 2 years, I didn't have any money, unless I earned it through taking some cans in, or I found something on the side of the road that was thrown away that could be worth something, whatever. But I didn't really care for money. I just trusted God to feed me when I needed to be fed. And anyway, so I'm like, alright, I'll go apply for Centrelink again. And it took them a long time to approve it. When they did, there's enough money to buy a car, so I went and bought a car. And then within a month of me buying that car, they had made the registration disappear and said that the car had never been registered in its entire life. It was like a 30-year-old car, Rod. So what did I do? I gave it away. Tried to sell it, nobody would buy it. Everybody who said they would buy it, even fuck all money, just never showed up. So I just gave it away. Because what am I supposed to do? Car on the side of the road? I mean, technically they can't make you register a car or have a license anyway, it's all illegal, but either way, stress I don't need, so let it go. I'll just walk. I only bought that car in the first place so that my dog didn't have to walk on the ground at the time because it was hot. I didn't want his paws to get burnt. Either way, let it go, and we moved on. Barely even drove it, right? Because I had no need to drive it. Only if I had to take my dog somewhere. You know, to the shop to get food or whatever. But yeah, so they made it disappear completely off the history of existence. Didn't try and get another one after that. And then a while after that, again, they stole my ID and bank card. And this time, this time was funnier, because this time God allowed me to go back to that evil. I didn't really want to, but for some reason he made me. Couldn't see it then. I guess they were trying to kill me and set me up for murder. Anyway, you know, I went as God made me. And then when the time was, God let me see what was going on there. And I didn't sleep at this property. It was like 40 kilometers out of town. At night, I'd walk down the road and sleep in the middle of nowhere. Right, because that was better than sleeping with the evil. And so, but each day I would go back until God told me to leave. And then this night came. I'm like, yeah, this must be it, God. I must go now, eh? Because within a couple of days, you know, they're going to do something. And maybe they weren't necessarily going to try and kill me. Maybe they were trying to make me look famous, thinking that I would bow to the world. But I don't bow to the world, I bow to God. Anyway, this night, orb appeared in the sky and directed me, and I guess blocked me from being viewed. Not long after I'd left that night, maybe 10 minutes down the road, they come chasing after me. They couldn't see me, but my ID and my bank card were gone. Now, maybe that was witchcraft on their part, or maybe God made me lose it. Either way, doesn't matter. And at this point, I'd smoked cigarettes for like 20 years. And not that I needed to, I was addicted to, but I did. And anyway, God made them disappear too. Right? Anyway, so I had walked to town, which was 40 kilometers away. No food, no water, no nothing, just God. God fed me and watered me. And, but as I got to town, one of these pedo scumbags called the cops to tell them that I arrived and come search me and stuff. And I'm like, well, how did you even get here? Walk down the main road. How did you walk down the main road if nobody's seen you? Got any smokes on you? Nah, no smokes. Don't smoke anymore. No lighter? Nah. And they couldn't understand why. Because track record shows that I would have continued to smoke. But I knew they had stolen my lighter before to try and set me up. And I'd also heard that recently, before that time when God sent me out there, this last final time, that they'd actually had a woman out there. Didn't know who this woman was, but they claimed this woman left. However, it seemed suspicious because they wanted me to put my belongings and sleep where this woman slept. Also, after they had stolen my lighter, guess what? To try and get my DNA in there. Either way, I refused to, and I slept outside of the property. And when I did eventually get to town, whole town hunted me, slandered me, and tried to hurt me, stop me from eating. Eventually I'm like, well, fuck this. I might just walk back the other way, right? And I can't even remember what happened after that, but eventually I did get the other way. Or maybe, no, I don't know, can't remember. Either way, whatever happened after that, can't remember. Also, that person had tried to murder me before, running me over with a ATV quad type thing, and I actually had it recorded on my phone, and they're like, how can you have it recorded if you don't have any phone credit? I'm like, you don't need phone credit to use a voice recorder and a camera. And they had stolen that phone off me after that, once I'd got back to the city. Because I had my dog and we had nothing. I had no phone or anything, because the day that I left, I smashed the phones knowing that they were hacked, and I just walked off. Right, and maybe this was even a separate time, I can't remember, right, exactly. A lot went down, and God protected me, is all I can say, really. And so anyway, I started walking to town, and they had people trying to intimidate me, like big groups of bikers and stuff going past, whatever. When I got to towns, people would speak about me, I could hear them, even if they weren't near me. God always lets you hear when you're supposed to hear something, right? Or shows you, it comes out in front of you somewhere. And I don't know, I just kept walking and walking. I could only go as far as my dog could go. You know, nobody exactly attacked me or anything, but I just kept walking away from them. And then I was like maybe halfway to the next big city, which was maybe, I'd probably walk 70 kilometers or 100 kilometers, I don't know. Maybe not even that far, but maybe like halfway. So whatever, I have to look it up to be sure. And then this person that had the property out in the middle of nowhere was driving. Obviously, you know, they kept an eye on me and knew where I was. They claimed they were just coming back and seeing me. And they're like, basically, you've been fucking gone for 2 weeks. Like, you know, come back. I'm like, definitely not going back. I'm going to town. And they said, well, why don't I take you to this other town? This was a town where they had previously tried to set me up and kidnap me, and same people, satanic cult. And because of that, I actually stayed at a service station for 3 days, so the general public could see what was going on. Because, you know, obviously, police are involved, they wouldn't take a report, and it says they were part of the people who hunted me. But so I stayed at that service station for 3 days, where they slandered me and told lies about me, to show the fact that something wasn't right, yeah? And, yeah, so they wanted to take me back to that town. I'm like, nah, fuck that. Right? Which actually shows that they had done evil to me before that, and I wasn't aware of it, which is what made me leave that town in the first place. And to note, in that first town, a couple of years ago, or like 5 years ago probably now, I had reported to a police officer for abusing children and their family, like the family of the child, CPS, or whatever you call it in Australia, and they claimed, no, nothing's wrong. But yet, they kept trying to set this kid up and claim them as a liar because they were abusing this child. And the same two police always showed up for that child, but that doesn't happen. The only time the same two cops show up for anything is if it's rigged, right? You know? Because people work different shifts and whatever, but always the same person? Nah, mate, that's not right. After that's when they really started to come for me. I mean, they hunted me my whole life because they knew who I was before I would admit to who I was with God. And, you know, like when I was younger, if my sister was driving the car, they'd pull the car over and try and harass me, but they had no right to even speak to me. I hadn't done anything wrong because I didn't do anything wrong. But that was suspicious, right? And when I was even younger than that, they sent 2 manhunts after me when I'd never done anything. Either times, I was never taken, but one time they knocked on the door at 2 o'clock in the morning. I thought it was my mum coming home from the pub. I answered it, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, blah blah. I'm like, nah, fuck off. And that was that. But I hadn't done anything, right? I'd never done anything. So why was this even the case? Why was this going on? Obviously they knew more about me than I knew about me, and who was I even really? Yeah? And, you know, where are we even up to now? Oh yeah. Let's not forget that they murdered my mum and my dad. And my mum was poisoned. They said it was brain cancer. My dad, They never even said, but funny how he died the day that I was taking them to court to become his legal guardian, because I mistreated him, drugged him up, caused him left-side hemiplegia, abused him. I was the one who looked after him when he was in hospital. I'm the one who took him to the toilet when he was in hospital. I'm the one who wiped his ass when he was in hospital. They didn't do shit. Anyway, and he was actually getting better for a bit until they had dropped him. So, he had a stroke before that, and he was scared to fly, but he got flown back to the hospital near me. So, I guess that shows he did really love me, huh? And so that he wasn't alone, and so I could look after him, and I was making him, home meals, and he was getting better. I was taking care of him, reading the Bible to him, and then he all of a sudden got worse, couldn't move, become paralysed, and the hospital refused to tell me why, but, they had a temporary nurse, a fill-in one, and they told me that they had dropped him, which obviously Angel had come upon this person and told me, and yeah. But the day that I went to become his legal guardian so I could take them to court for it, because they also tried to ban me from the hospital because I was drugging him up and leaving him in the middle of nowhere without any help. And they threatened to call the cops and say, you can't be in the hospital. I'm like, no, you can't stop me from being here. It's a public place and my dad's dying. And he died 10 minutes before court started for him. Funny that, huh? Everywhere I went, people see me be nothing but true love and try and help people and inspire people. But yet they continued to slander me and scare people away from having anything to do with me. But who should you fear more, God or evil? People seen what they did to me, and I was still alive and didn't have a mark on my body. So in which case, you should turn to God over the fear of evil. And what do I mean? I mean that if evil tries to make you do something, you have no right to fear that. You have to say, well, this is a choice. I either go with God or I go against God. And look, there's more that it's obviously detailed all the war crimes that they committed against me. In fact, not only did they try and get that person to assault me and file false charges against me, they tried to get me locked up for it, and they illegally kidnapped me, which I got footage of online, and then they threatened me to speak. So when I spoke, I made sure that I said that they had previously tried to murder me and stuff, and that it was bullshit, and this guy had tried to attack me. Anyway, there should never have been anything after that, but funnily enough, they tried to stop me from going to court on that date, getting in my way. A couple of them warned me, don't even go, before that, because they wanted to legally take my fingerprints and get a photo of me to make out like I was a criminal when I'd never committed any crimes. But God said, you know what, go. And the guy at the police station there was shit scared when I walked in, because he couldn't understand why I'd walked in, because he knew who I was with God, and he knew that this would incur consequences for them with God. I never done anything to anybody, but God always repaid what people did to me. And anyway, they did it, and he tried to ask me some loaded questions. But anyway, I was made sure I was reading the Bible in the part where God gave me the Holy Spirit to read the part of the things that they had done against me in the scripture. And anyway, I leave, and yeah, they tried to get in my way to stop me from going from court. And I didn't even think that it should go to court, because it should have got dismissed with the statement that they forced me to make, they coerced me to make. I refused to make one. They threatened the life of my dog and myself. So I spoke the truth against them, because, they legally kidnapped me, coerced me, and threatened me. And they got guns and stuff. I don't have a gun. I just got God. And sometimes God has to allow things to happen so this evil can get caught. Anyway, so I don't go. But they always knew where I was, because not only did they hack my phones, but Oh yeah, so a month later, I mean, I walked all over the place, not because I was running from anything, but just because God's like, well, go here, go there. Like, because if they do enough evil to me and it hurts me bad enough, God will then be like, well, dude, you need to leave. It's affecting you, so, you know, go somewhere else. And, whatever, so go when God says go. And, also, I guess, to see more truth about things. Because when you go different places, you see truths that you might not have seen otherwise. And, anyway, they always knew where I was, not only because they hacked me, but they got all people watching me, right? But never try and arrest me, never try and take me in. And then they illegally arrest me. This is the footage I got, right? And because the first time they they had one fat old guy in a police uniform from the police station, and another guy in a police uniform that didn't appear to be a police, and a third one who was in a fake costume police uniform filming, you know, because they weren't even a cop, they were just going to put that on the internet. But that no cop's a cop. Daniel 3 verse 2 to 5 tells you who they are, Babylon. And anyway, they're like, yeah, give us your name and fuck off. Anyway, over a month goes past, and they illegally arrest me. I wouldn't have had to be there. God said don't go this way, and I'm like, no, well, why should I not? And I went, and they illegally kidnapped me and arrested me. And because at some point they have to get caught for what they're going to do, and if I don't let them leave a big enough record, well, I'm not just gonna the truth won't come out otherwise, because I'm not going to go take them to court or anything. I'll just let the justice of God deal with it, right? So, but anyway, let it get seen of what they did. And then when they illegally kidnapped me that time, they stole my phone and cloned it, prevented me from recording their illegal actions and their coercion into making me make a statement, which the statement I made was against them, and that they had set it up. And yet, finally, then it gets processed, and they put out a warrant for me when I hadn't committed a crime, and the testimony that they coerced me into giving, because, you know, they threatened me to say something. So, what I said was against them, which, if a judge looked at that, they should have been like, right, this needs investigating, or, you know, case dismissed. But no, they claimed that I was charged, and then they still knew where I was, right, because they followed me. And time goes by, like 3 or 4 months, and I'm walking around in the city where they did this, and all the other towns and everywhere else, and they tried to attack me with witchcraft and gangs and shit, but cops went past me all the time, never stopped me, never tried to legally arrest me. Guess they figured they could kill me first, but when they realised they couldn't kill me, then they tried to arrest me. And one of these times, actually, one of the towns where they tried to chase me out of, quite evil, I rolled in at night time to try and look for some cans, and this old fat copper pulls up in this alleyway, looks at me, and I seen the spirit leave his body when he looked at me. It's like, the only time somebody would look at you like that is if they've seen a ghost, and why would he think I was a ghost unless he had tried to murder me or set it up? Why would he think I was dead? And, you know, because they took my bank card and shit, and ID, I couldn't even look online to get a certificate or anything. So when you Google my name, it says that there's a marriage certificate and a death certificate in my name, but I have no way to obtain that because I have no bank card, right? So I can't even access that. But how could that be when I've never been married and I've never died? So what belonged to me that they tried to steal? Weird, huh? But no, they try to steal from all of you because they illegally imprisoned you. You belong to God, not evil. They give every person a false ID. They kidnapped everybody from the time they were born, right? That's a very serious crime. They never told you that you were kidnapped. They never told you that they legally imprisoned you. They gave you the illusion that you lived, but you never lived. And the fact that if I had done anything wrong, they would have just arrested me straight away when they knew where I was. The whole town was watching them. Everywhere I went was watching them, and who knows how many people online were watching them, right? And then, again, later, and then I just walk away again, you know, after that. 3 days later, after that time they legally arrested me, they stole my phone, because they couldn't hack it, I guess. And they were trying to clone my phone and put it somewhere to make it look like I was trying to be somewhere. But I already posted online about that, so that fell through for them. About somewhere they were trying to set something up. And then I didn't have a phone for a while after that, because, you know, it wasn't easy to get a phone, I guess. And I could have asked God to give me one, but did I really need one? You know, I mean, I can't tell the truth about the things I've done if I don't have a phone, but everybody saw what they did anyway. I forget where I'm up to, but anyway, so remember when they tried to pay me out and asked me how much I wanted to be paid, I could have named any price in existence. I laughed and said no, showing that I have integrity and didn't care about money, because they wanted me to become part of the world instead of be who I am with God. But if I do that, then I don't set an example for everybody. And also, then I would be bowing to evil instead of God, although it was owned to me and everything belongs to me because of who I am. When somebody comes to deceitfully try and give me something, well, I can either accept it and they get judged for that, or I can not, and they still get judged for it. But you have to do what's right for the example, yeah? Because people had seen me be starved before and then come to say, here, you want some money or some food? And I'd be like, no, it's not from God. You know, so I set a track record of my integrity. I said, God will provide for me. Now, you might want to share this video, because unless the whole world sees it, the whole world won't come to peace. It won't come to paradise, and nobody will stand as one under the authority of God and go against Babylon, which is the evil. And if that doesn't happen, no peace will be on earth, because every knee doesn't bow to Jesus, as the scripture says. Go try and search me, go see what you can find. You know, they're trying to mute my name from search results so you can't see, but it is there. Even my birth certificate proves who I am. Of God. And actually, even more importantly too, I forgot about this. After when they tried to set me up for murder and kidnap me and stuff, when I spent that 3 days at that service station and they tried to poison me and shit, I'm like, well, I'm going to buy an Uber across the state border, right? And they threatened the Uber driver not to. But the Uber driver should have been more scared of God than of the evil. But they knew I was of God, so they're like, well, I'm still protected whatever way. And they apologised about it because, you know, they were scared for their family or whatever. But they had no right to be because they weren't showing faith in God. Either way, I let it go. But that also meant that I had no money because Uber pre-holds your money. And, yeah. Why though? Because God said, go there, investigate some evil they had done. It was all connected. And a while later I learned, maybe over a year later, I learned that, in fact, I seen this post of this woman saying that her brother was murdered. And I kept seeing it, so it was no coincidence. Like, I'm like, well, fuck this, I'm going to go to investigate. And as I was about to walk towards the last part of town to go out, I closed my eyes and had a vision and see somebody look like they were drugged and about to get X'd in a sort of a ditch sort of thing. And this is complicated because even though I have visions of the future can change. And was it actually the future? Or was it the past? Or was it happening right then? Or was it happening interdimensionally? Because that's the other thing, and that's more complicated. But either way, I kept seeing this post, and that's what I was going to investigate. And when I say investigate, like, trees give information, everything gives information when you're of God, right? Jesus said the mountain speaks to you, right? And anyway, as I'd gone along, a particular patch area spoke and said that this is where they had hurt her brother. And so I messaged them and told them, and they were like, whatever, how could you know this? But they were interested, and I told them that, the police and gangs and government were involved in it, and churches. It's right near a church, actually, and was evil satanic cult. And history shows that a lot of people had been, murdered here, or, within a radius over a period of time. And that's only the ones people knew about, I guess. And then when I got further down to the main town where the evil was, on the coast, one of the most evil ones came to see me, because people obviously told them that I was there. Not necessarily to talk to me, but to view. And they made it look like they weren't, but, even the air speaks to you, right? And so also told this person that this person was involved. I said, it's really not worth you to pursue, because you're not going to want to stand against all these people, and unless you be with God, you're not really protected. I mean, if you're trying to seek the truth, God will protect you in that sense, but if you make a wrong step, God might not protect you anymore. In the sense that if you let that evil control you or something, because then things become more complicated. And when I had got a bit further down, in fact, which they sent bikies and stuff to check me out along the way, gang members, but anyway, and one person even come, oh, this is really the end. I guess they thought because I was leaving the state, going back to where I should be, which is further south, because that's allegedly where I was born, and I guess where I should return. But either way, as I got further down, I seen this before on the way to there as well, that there was some areas that were heavily done in witchcraft. And when I say witchcraft, it's more complicated than that, because it was like this area was under a time spell. It was 2 different dimensions at once. So there was like a portal there. And I mean, an average person wouldn't know it exists, but energy doesn't lie. And what this thing was something that existed on an alternate plane of existence that shouldn't exist, which was trying to hunt me and take me out, because basically, I guess, the way the truth is that on an alternate timeline, I did have a family and a child, and because I had that family and that child turned out to be evil, and because of the person that I had it with, which is, I guess, why I seen the image of that destruction in my eyes, I looked into their eyes, and that's the person that I met when I was 18, but I never did that, so they didn't exist on the real timeline. And so that person had essentially come from another timeline, aka the future, to try and take me out. And these people that come from future timelines are technically more powerful than, what exists, except for they're not more powerful than God. So, they eventually got destroyed, I guess, and timelines started to merge back into one. I don't know. It's lots of story, I guess. But you've seen the most of it, so share it around. And I guess if it comes to me, I can add more, but we really want to share this, because if all the people don't come together as one and stand against the evil, it will happen as it did 20,736,000,000 years ago. Everybody gets destroyed. And this is the last chance for everybody to turn to paradise and to God and to be in paradise forever. See, God can technically kick people out of paradise, but this was paradise, and He ruined it when you walked away from God, because people became greedy and wanted to be God. That's why the Bible told you exactly how things would happen this time, because He'd done tests, but nobody still returned. Either way, shit's really going to want to change, and you need to stand together as one, or nobody's ever going to be free. Because even if God declares it, then He feels pity for the people and love for the people who might not know or might not fully understand. So he says, well, I can't fully judge, because then they still get judged because they're in that system. There's no way around it, because that's how the law of the universe works, which is why I told everybody, leave Babylon and return to God, because you're hindering this evil from being destroyed. You're not even standing against it, saying, oh, well, we'll stand quietly. It doesn't work like that. You stand in full truth, you stand against the evil, and with God as one, or everything gets destroyed.